Okay, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're signing in from. Thank you again for registering. Thank you for being present and bringing yourself here. We are talking about portfolio building today. This is one of many Candid classes brought to you by the Candid Professionals series of free webinars to help folks in their professional development efforts. So without further ado, let's jump into the PowerPoints. Want to definitely make sure we use these 30 minutes of your day effectively. So if you are not familiar, my name is Corbin Pickett. Again, thank you for coming out and showing up. I am a career coach, workplace development facilitator, mentor, mentee trainer, and that can mean a number of different things to a number of different people. But at the core of my work, what I really emphasize on focusing in on is positive and effective relationship building. And I feel like that's a component that we don't really talk much about. We don't really share much curriculum or framework around how to go about doing that, but that's really critical to our professional development, our career growth, our personal well-being. And if you care to do so, I would love it if you would follow me at The Candid Professional via Instagram. You can see it down there on your screen. And a couple of things that I would really, really appreciate from you as you tune in and as you follow along is keep me in mind for your professional development needs. If you are in the need of building up your brand or career coaching, definitely reach out. I do free consultation calls. We can see if that relationship, that coaching strategy that I have is right for you and can get you over the hump or get you to that next career rung on the ladder that you're trying to strive for. And then also keep me in mind for your office team professional development needs. So I do a lot of workplace facilitation trainings, team trainings, also trainings around equity and inclusion and mentorship. Okay, so let's get into portfolios that you all can create that are free, simplistic, very, very accessible, and can show off the best you when you're trying to get that leg up to get that new client that you're really seeking to get, or that new job that you really want to be able to snag. And at the essence of building a portfolio, it's really about the showing and telling of your career, and taking hold of that, taking advantage of it. We want to put ourselves in the driver's seat of being the person who is controlling the narrative, controlling the story of our professional growth and career. So there's a few types of portfolios that I'll be talking about today, or I should say platforms that you can use as portfolios. And they are LinkedIn, live resumes, Instagram, Google folders, or Dropbox. I'm gonna break down each. We're gonna get into each. But before I get carried away into this, I wanna make sure that you all know, use the chat box to drop in any questions that you have throughout this 30 minutes. I wanna make sure that you get your answers, your questions answered, excuse me. And chances are, if you have a question, someone else watching the video also has a question, or someone who will be watching the video later on YouTube will have that same question. So do us all a favor and don't hold back. Share those questions. Let's make sure that we're getting everything that you need and want out of this time. All right, so type of portfolio number one that most people overlook, we don't think about it, and we definitely don't leverage enough, it's LinkedIn. So having a LinkedIn page that is set up to really strategically show how you are growing as a professional is really key. You want to take, again, you want to take the reins. You want to take control over sharing and showing your career story and your career narrative. And what better place to do that than the #1 platform of which we're all using to explore career opportunities and connect with professionals the most. LinkedIn summary, I feel, is oftentimes underutilized as a space for us to leverage as a portfolio. And within that summary, sharing not just, it's a rare space where you get to jump out of the job description and jump out of just sharing what you did role by role or task by task, and really share some personality. What is it that you love? What is your desired impact beyond your current job? What do you envision growing to be able to do, be, or have an impact in? And then within that, the key element of matching your words with pictures. What I often share with professionals is we want to try to Yelpify ourselves. The good old Yelp effect. It's a trust builder when we see images and commentary geared towards telling a succinct story in which we can then feel like credible enough to go, all right, I'm going to hire this person. I'm going to buy their services. We do this with Yelp all the time. When thinking about where do we want to go to eat, we want to check out some images. Does the food look good? Does the portion size look like it's going to be filling? And then we want to see some commentary. What are other folks saying about it? What are other folks' experiences with it? Now, in LinkedIn and in portfolio development, you don't always have a space to share what other people's commentary might be, but you absolutely have space to share what your vision and what your brand message is. So take advantage of that within LinkedIn. You see this example here. Andrew has a nicely laid out summary, but key in on how he strategically uses the area where he has inserted media, showcasing different projects that he's worked on. That's where the money is. Being able to showcase some things, some tangible things that you have worked on, that you've had experience with. That's the essence of a portfolio. And a lot of people aren't taking advantage of LinkedIn and being able to show tangible things that they've worked on. So consider that. That's something that you can probably do today. Most of us have a LinkedIn. If you're tuned in, I'm betting that you have a LinkedIn and that you might have an image of something pertaining to a project you coordinated. Maybe it was an event, you have a snapshot of it, and you can post that in there with some commentary. It doesn't have to be glamorous. It doesn't have to be this sexy, graphic designed, laid out, finished product. It just needs to be something that showcases what it was that you worked on, and then some commentary, what your role within it was. So that's portfolio type #1, LinkedIn. We all have it. We all have access to it at the very least. So use it strategically. It's a space where people can access you when you're sleeping, when you're not thinking about it, when you're working. So allow it to work for you. Portfolio type #2, live resumes. Now, it might be tough to see on this portfolio or this example of a live resume, but some of these buttons, some of these words are hyperlinks, and that's the essence of a live portfolio. Taking advantage of the reality that most of us are sending our portfolios digitally these days. Most of us are sharing our resumes, our portfolios, excuse me. Most of us are sharing our resumes digitally these days. whether you're submitting it online digitally or you're sending it via email, or you're just having it as a clickable file within your LinkedIn, the chances are most people are accessing it via online. And so with that being the case, you definitely want to take advantage of adding some hyperlinks within there. Kind of similarly in the same vein as thinking about LinkedIn and what images or different examples of projects that you may have, these hyperlinks could click out to a blog post that you have shared, or that has been a particular piece of pride work of yours. It could click out and link to a personal portfolio, an actual website of yours. It could click out and link to an app that you built, or an event that you help organize or put on, or a speaking engagement that you held, whether it's one that you held as far as organizing, or a speaking engagement that you've actually led and facilitated the talk. Either way, taking advantage of adding hyperlinks to your resume is critical. It's really, really, really advantageous in this day and age, and will easily put you a step above someone who doesn't have examples throughout their resume that someone can link out to. And again, it's about building trust. It's not about being fancy or having all the bells and whistles. It's simply about building trust. And that can be very effectively done with portfolios and with a live resume that links out to tangible examples for people to be able to get a sense of your worth and be able to analyze, like, okay, yeah, I really feel like this is the person for me. I want to reach out. Again, that trust dynamic is really what moves the needle in folks identifying someone to be a client that they hire, or a potential candidate for a role that they want to hire for. Next up, and before I jump into this one, I'm going to take a pause and I'm just going to see if there's any questions. We've gone over 2 of the 4 portfolio types already, and we have 2 more to go. All right. It looks like most of y'all are good to go. Thank you for the response, Ahmed. All right, let's keep rolling on. So, type of portfolio that is easy to create, very, very accessible, and very creative. Instagram. I feel like most of us know a friend who has at least more than one Instagram account. Maybe they have 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, who's counting? Some of them are ghost profiles so they can check out other people. I won't say stalk, that's a strong word. But just the simple reality that we're aware that we can create an additional profile page with LinkedIn. I mean, excuse me, with Instagram. We know that to be a thing. And now let it be a thing that we can use to our true benefit as far as it pertains to our career growth. So I want you all to consider, I might even take it so far as I want to challenge you to even just save the other profile name. It could be portfolio, your name, or whatever you might want it to be. Right now, mine is Candid Portfolio, going along with my general tagline of the Candid Professional. And I started listing just a few simple photos that share the work that I do. It's not about pertaining to this new Instagram account on a regular basis. It's not about posting on a regular basis, none of that. I'm legit talking about thinking of 4 to 6 photos. You don't even have to get that expensive. 3 to 6 photos that share a project that you're proud of, that represent the work that you want to do more of. So again, going back to some examples, if it's event management, maybe it's a big conference that you pulled off and it's just a picture of you in front with the signage and a few images of speakers and facilitators, and then some commentary. What was your role within that event management development? What was your moment of pride? What did you enjoy about executing an event like that? So give some thought into how you want to share your brand voice, your brand image. Again, that's just really, what do you enjoy? What are your strengths? What was the impact that you had? Or what is your desired impact? And sharing that in a snippet of a story. And again, it just takes 3 to 6 images. You don't want to get carried away. More than 6, you're starting to bog down a potential viewer. You want them to be able to just jump in, click on an image and say, oh, okay, this is this person's ability to impact one-on-one coaching dynamic. Or this might be an example of this person's graphic design ability. Or this might be someone's example of poetry. So there's really endless ways to be able to showcase your talent, your superpower, your professional area of interest or growth within Instagram. And again, it's just providing a simplistic way for people to reach out and view what it is that you're working on, what it is that you want to, how you want to grow. And you can even see in this example, this individual took it a step further and, excuse me for assuming, she is listing out within her highlights strategically things that she wants her viewers to see. So this is another way to itemize, categorize, and strategically show what it is that you're focusing on, what it is you want people to zoom in on. She has her free downloads, her book marketing, I'm guessing that says, blog posts, inspirations. And so these are easy ways for people to see what it is that she has to offer. Again, so these are ways for you to think about, how can you categorize and simply showcase what it is that you're focusing on? Oftentimes, I even see this being a huge game changer in how we pitch ourselves for opportunities, whether that's pitching yourself for a raise or pitching yourself to a new client and trying to pitch your work. That's a very tough thing for a lot of us to do. And having some evidence as a scapegoat, per se, can really be a huge game changer in how we're pitching what we're worth. If someone says, well, would you actually be willing to do that for this price? Well, honestly, I feel like I'm worth what I mentioned, because take a look at some of my work. I've really have been taking on clients that are of your size and even bigger and bringing dynamic value to them. And they've been paying me in this range. So, again, it can be that backbone that you may need, or that extra oomph in a conversation to really hold true to what you want to charge and what you identify as your value, your worth. All right, again, just taking another quick pivot and seeing if anyone has any questions. Okay, as we continue on, you all, one more portfolio type, and then I will be wrapping up with just a little bit more insight on my belief around portfolios. And that will conclude us for the day. But the last one is honestly the most simplistic, probably the least sexy, I know, but absolutely gets the job done, completely overlooked and underutilized. Google Folders or Dropbox. Being able to quickly share a link with someone and say, hey, yeah, just check out my Google Folders. This is where I keep my my portfolio of work, is an easy, simplistic means to share evidence of your credibility with people. And, you know, I understand that many of us may think very readily in the sense of, okay, having images to share or video to share or graphics to share totally makes sense. If I'm a graphic designer, if I'm a photographer, if I'm a video editor, but how might this make sense to me if I'm an educator, if I'm a salesperson? Well, it still makes, if not as much sense, even more. And I would say it's even more advantageous in many of these other fields because it's not expected. And it can really put you over the needle because no longer is your sense of work a theory, but people can actually get a sense of what is your philosophy, your education philosophy as a teacher, or what might be your range of experience as a salesperson. Like what is your typical sales length, so people can understand, oh, this person is really used to quick sales strategies and dynamics, or this person has a lot of experience with sales processes that take years. Those are definitely different levels of well, I don't want to say levels, but types of experience. And you can show that through a portfolio, but not always best show that through a simple resume or through just applying through the position digitally online. So again, being able to offer more evidence, whether it's just a simple image and you sharing a description of what that project was, what your role within it was, that's all the essence of a portfolio is. And then the outcome of it is trust building. We want to create portfolios to give more reason, to give a stronger emphasis as to why you can trust me to do the work that I am expressing I want to do. And also, I know some of us are, well, portfolio, I already have LinkedIn or already have resume, or I really want to emphasize the magic really does happen outside our comfort zone when we push the envelope to make ourselves just that much more accessible. And beyond the accessibility dynamic of it, building a portfolio, I always see it help professionals get that added clarity within their head of, wow, okay, yeah, this is how I want to pitch myself. This is how I best want to represent my body of work. And just going through the process is a very introspective professional development process within and of itself. So the magic can happen outside of your comfort zone. It oftentimes does. So take that into account, and also take into account, keep in touch, please, please. You see my email there, corbin@thecandidprofessionals.com. Feel free to reach out for your free consultation. Feel free to reach out for added resources to learn more about future webinars. And before we part ways for today, you all, I want to thank you again for your time and your attention. And if there are any last questions, please, please, please use the chat box. I'm going to glance over it now in a second and answer any remaining questions. But again, thecandidprofessionals.com. Don't forget to sign up for a free coaching session. Let's get you over whatever career hurdle you might be facing. Let's get you closer to that dream job or that ideal client that you're seeking. And yeah, okay, so we have a question here from Ahmed. What about using a personal website as a portfolio? The more places we host our portfolios on, the better, question mark. Good question, really good question. So I intentionally left out personal websites within this because I believe it's something that we readily think of when we think of building a personal or professional portfolio. Most of us are readily thinking of that and also readily intimidated of it because we may not have web development skills. And sure, we may know of Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, these platforms that are user friendly, but they're still intimidating. You still need a sense of not just surface level design capabilities, very, very surface level, but more so that user experience eye. And that is not something that we all have or that we all have confidence that we have. So I'm really big on highlighting these different resources that are free and simple that we all have real confidence in using because we're already using them. But with that being said, I'm a big fan of personal websites. I personally use Squarespace. That's not an ad for them. But I'm a big fan of their platform. It's been very simplistic for me to use. And I think you can make a simple and very gorgeous personal website, personal portfolio using Squarespace or one of these other platforms. I think that all of these different things can work within an ecosystem. It's not about having one over the other, but having an ecosystem that works very dynamically within it of itself. So I have a LinkedIn with media links added in it that also, one of them is a link to my personal website. And within my personal website, there's a link to my, not only just a link back to my LinkedIn, but a link to my Instagram account, which has more and a larger array of my body of work. So all of these things are strategically connected to each other. So people, wherever they meet me, it's just the door opener to the larger relationship. Okay, hopefully that worked. If not, absolutely add in a clarifying statement so I can make sure I address your question. We have another question from Tangia. What's up? Is there a strong preference for a certain type of portfolio based on the industry that you're in, i.e. creative versus corporate? So yes and no. You will find certain industries that have their particularities. I would say within the creative space, so specifically graphic designers, web developers, there's like GitHub, where you can create apps and different web coding examples for them to go view your work. So that's something very specific to the industry that if you're in that industry, yes, you need that to really amplify how you're showcasing your work in addition to a personal portfolio, ideally a personal website type of dynamic. If you're in other spaces like architecture, you will absolutely have some hard copies of stuff and some things that you may need to really, roll out and show in person. But also you will have things that will link to AutoCAD as examples or different design, whether it might be in Studio or different Adobe products. So yes, And I feel that if you're in an industry that requires a particular type of way of showcasing your work or has that level of bias one way or another, you'll be familiar with it. If you're transitioning, then it's really good to ask these particular type of questions, and particularly ask these questions to people who are within those industries. What I have found is that there is, in general, a vast array of lack of use of portfolios across most industries. There's industries in which we know we need them, graphic design, and then industries where most people are shrugging them off. Education, nonprofit, consulting, marketing, any space in social media or digital advertising. So just simply taking advantage of any way of showcasing your professional work, your professional credibility, your professional story is advantageous. So it's about just really identifying the platform or the means that is most relevant, accessible to you as a person, as a human being, because you're the one who's got to jump in and create this portfolio and keep it updated. So I love Instagram. So why not create additional portfolio or create additional profile showcasing just a handful of my the few categories that I play in: mentee training, speaking, keynotes, office workshop facilitation. And so just to give people a quick snippet of, okay, I can see a couple of pictures of him actually doing his work. I can see a brief snippet of this is how he identifies his impact through this work, and this is how he carries his work out. That's the meat of what you need to share. Or for vegetarians, the potatoes. So hopefully that answered your question. If you have a more specific question, feel free to throw it in the chat box, or don't hesitate to reach out to me directly via email. All right, you all. With that, I want to say no further ado. Enjoy your afternoons. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please, please, please keep in touch. Share this with other people, as far as help other people know that I am doing these bi-monthly, twice a month, free webinars. The next webinar coming up will be on career clarity. And so keep an eye out for when that will be hosted. Thank you. Have an amazing day, Candid Professionals. Go out there and make your career everything you want it to be, and then some. Peace and blessings, y'all.